Welcome to The Vibrant Couple. My name is Valdo Lallemand. I'm a relationship coach. I created this YouTube channel to further my purpose of liberating love through connection and playfulness. Welcome to our new series on emotional intelligence. Well, not so new. I've already published 5 videos. You can find the link up there to these videos. Today, we're going to talk about empathy. Actually, it will be a short video because I intend to have 3 videos on empathy. This one, which is a brief intro, then one on what empathy is not, and very critically, a third one on self-empathy. So today we're going to talk about what empathy is. We are going to talk about how to find hope in our unjust world. We're going to take a look at empathy from an NVC lens. And we're going to use an example of empathetic listening. Empathy is very simply the respectful understanding of what others are experiencing. Empathy is not sympathy. Empathy is not antipathy. I will cover both in next video on what empathy is not. We live in a very challenging world. Just open the news. Wars, mass shootings in schools, serial killers and rapists, brutal economic differences and disparities, parents divorcing and arguing and using children as weapons. So how do we find hope? Some people use religion. We are lucky to have a world of abundance, so we have a different type of religions that are accessible to us so that we can find the flavor that works for us. Some even think that they have a direct line to God. And so all of those things I'm comfortable with. What I'm personally challenged with is when some think that they have the only solution. Some of us find hope through science. So I have depicted here the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. In relationships, this is really important because sympathetic is kind of like fight or flight, which is really good when you have an emergency, a danger, like your child is about to cross the street. But most of the time in a couple, you want to relax each other. You want to soften and access your parasympathetic nervous systems. I personally find that both faith and science can bring a lot to us. Because I work as a relationship coach, I have the firm belief that a lot of hope from our unjust world is to be found in a couple. My work is heavily influenced by the work of Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who created NonViolent Communication. He initially called his work compassionate communication, but he realized that most other communication is fairly violent, and so he renamed his work nonviolent communication. In my last video on needs, you can find the link above, I explored the difference between needs and wants, and I compared it to kind of like an iceberg. Our thoughts and wants are closest to the surface or above the water, and our needs are deep below, and they are the ones who drive us. In the work of Dr. Rosenberg, people typically have access to strategies, which are their thoughts, their wants, and that are all in service to meeting needs. And when we converse one another with strategies, we are likely going to clash because rarely do our strategies mash up with each other. And so the invitation is to learn to communicate at the level of needs, and this is where empathy comes in. Basically, learning to listen to what people are needing versus to what they are thinking. Nonviolent communication is a very simple 4-step communication methods in which we have observations, and basically that's what happens on the outside. We also have things that happen on the inside. These are our feelings and our needs. And because we want to get our needs met, we come up with strategies and we often express them as requests. In the case of empathy, we want to focus on what happens on the inside. Inside of us is self-empathy. There'll be a video later. And inside of another is empathy. One of my favorite parts from nonviolent communication is empathy guessing. I'm going to do very soon a video with my friend Monique Steffens on the empathy guessing game. So in here, basically what it is to look at feelings and needs and express them to another in the form of, are you feeling ... which of course is a feeling, because you have a need for ... I have shared with you in my previous videos list of feelings and list of needs. So please look in the description below if you're interested and send me an email and I'll send you those PDFs. The key to remember here is that it is not our feelings that drive us like many of us think, but it is our needs. For Marshall Rosenberg, most of the violence that happens in the world are tragic expressions of unmet needs. So you may remember the definition of empathy is the respectful understanding of what others are experiencing. So if we believe, and I hope you follow me, that feelings and needs are the key drivers, needs is basically what we need to fulfill, and feelings are the messengers that either our needs need to be fulfilled or have been fulfilled, then the key becomes to learn to hear needs regardless of how people express them or how people express themselves. In my previous video, I took the example of a traditional couple, a man and a woman, married with children, and I took the scenario that the man would be losing his job, traditional job that he somehow drives to every morning and then comes back to. So one day that man loses his job and comes home and tells his wife. I have represented here in pink the needs that would be most activated for his wife, and basically food, water, how are we going to feed the children tonight, shelter, are we going to lose the house, stability is how will we do to somehow maintain a healthy equilibrium for our children, and then community is, are we going to lose our wonderful community of friends and neighbors who live around us. And for him, the key for needs that would be activated could be his sense of purpose, his sense of contribution. He's the primary provider for the family. His sense of honor, because for most men, their job is really important. And losing our job could be a sense of dishonor. And autonomy, because he may have to rely on friends or family or even social services as a way of getting by for a while. If they have enough emotional intelligence, that couple can sit down and say, hey, darling, how about we put our list of needs on the table? What are your top 4? What are my top 4? And then have a conversation in which it is not his 4 against her 4, like most conversations have, because we focus on strategies and become often violent. Then we can somehow sit down and say, hey, you have these 4 that get really activated right now. Is that not that I don't have them. It's just that the 4 most activated for me are these right now. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did spending this time together. Again, I'm putting in the description below a link to the feeling and needs cards. Our next video is again on empathy, and it is on what empathy is not. So I made some hints at the beginning of this video that we would talk about sympathy and antipathy. I am hoping that this brief preview piqued your curiosity. If this video inspired you to develop more emotional intelligence, please hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when I publish new juicy content. I look forward to seeing you very soon.